Hello. You guys ready for a good talk? Yeah. All right. I'm going to shout out to my Intel family here. Where are you? All right. Fabulous. And thank you to Matt. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to all of you for coming. Really excited to be here for this occasion. The three young women we just saw were so impressive, right? I mean, give them another hand, right? Really impressive. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about a good old girls network. How many feel me with a good old girls network? Do we need some good old girls network in here? We do. We really do. It's time. It's time. And I thank Sarah McBride because she actually coined the phrase. We were calling ourselves that, but she actually wrote it in an article from Thomson Reuters. And so we love that phrase. We mean it in the best sense of the word. We do need a good old girls network, and I'm going to talk to you about what I've done, and hopefully it will inspire you all to do some things as well. So I totally did not set out to start a nonprofit, right? I've got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a husband. I've got 2 jobs, right? I'm doing software investments. I'm launching this new diversity fund, which I'll talk to you a little bit about. Frankly, I'm just exhausted most of the time, right? And so I didn't set out to do this, but you know, I've been in the tech industry for quite some time. I started off as a software engineer, as Matt mentioned, and have worked at Intel for the last 18 years. Worked in product marketing jobs. For the last 15 years, I've worked at Intel Capital. And, you know, most of the time when I go to meetings, I'm the only woman in the room. How many have experienced that? Yeah, only woman in the room. And so, you know, month after month, year after year, you realize something has to change. And for some reason, in 2013, I had an epiphany moment, and I said, something needs to change, and I can probably do something about it. So what I did was pull out my Rolodex. I invited 40 to 50 of my closest female executive friends, and then they ended up inviting 40 to 50, 60 of their closest female executive friends, and we had a dinner at my house, 100 of us, and we talked about it. We talked about the issues we face. We talked about the lack of diversity. We talked about creative solutions on how we solve the problem. And the one thing that I think was most encouraging to me was that we all thought about it similarly, right? We all want to change the demographic. We all want to change our career trajectories, right? We want the opportunity to advance. And we all want to help each other. And I think one of the biggest revelations for me out of that meeting was that it's not going to change unless we proactively help each other. Jenny was talking about this earlier. We have to proactively help each other. And so I created this community with that in mind. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty cool idea, right? And we really had a great time, got lots of great feedback from all the women that attended. And so I said, I'm going to go tell my boss about this. He'll love this idea, right? He'll love the idea. Famous last words, right? So I went in, and you know, I'm thinking, right, I work at Intel Capital. We do a lot of investing. We put a lot of capital to work, investing in technology companies. And you know, our goal is to broaden our entrepreneurial network, broaden and expand our pipeline, you know, expand our portfolio. And I thought, how better to do that by investing in women, right? There were a lot of women, right? I mean, if you look at business in general, a lot of them are run by women. I'll talk more about that in a few moments. And so that was the idea, right? We can add a lot of value. If you look at the business data, it also says that women produce great results. They produce great returns. You get a better return on your invested capital. So it just made perfect sense to me that this is a good thing to do. And so my boss said, well, that's an interesting idea, but no. No thanks. We're not going to do it. And, you know, it is what it is. I did not let that discourage me. I decided that I would try another approach, right? So, you know, as I mentioned, I began my career as a product marketing engineer, product marketing manager. My job was to help our PC OEMs sell Intel architecture, our features, our value proposition. Intel has always been in the business of using technology to help people improve their lives, right? Fulfilled, richer, you know, more connected, more efficient, right? You do a lot of things online. Intel is an enabler of that. And when you look at Intel Capital, we support that vision. Our goal is to invest in technology companies that help Intel deliver that value proposition to its customers, enterprise customers, consumer customers. And so we've been doing that for quite some time. One of the things that I recognize, as I mentioned earlier, that half of the world's population are women. So if we can get women in the game and start investing in these companies that are led by women, we're actually going to help ourselves out. And yet when you study our sector, when you study our industry, venture capital that is, we find the same problem as we do in tech. General partners, only 4% of them are women. And if you look at the number of CEOs and founders that are starting tech companies, it's 8% are women. And it's even worse in Silicon Valley. Only 3% of the tech companies are started, founded, and led by women. 3%. Now that's in spite of the fact that women in Silicon Valley earn more than half of the bachelor's and master's degrees and almost half of the PhD degrees. So this notion that there is a lack of a pipeline, there aren't qualified women to do these startups is really just not true. But yet, they're not getting funding, right? They're not getting the access and the opportunity. You can see, Intel Capital has been at this for quite some time. We actually were founded in 1990, and over 1,400 companies, over $11 billion invested. But unfortunately, our profile, both the employee base and the portfolio, looks a lot like our industry, where there just aren't that many women-led businesses. But when you look at the data, right, the data, and there's so much that's been written on this. Catalyst has written good things on the Innovative Board. McKinsey have written good things on this. The data clearly points to the fact that women, either on boards or in executive roles, do make a difference. I'm not kidding when I say profits, return on equity, operating results, return on invested capital. Those all improve when you have more diversity. Consistently, every study that you read will say that. So there's really no reason why you don't see the change. Women are known to be more prudent decision makers. We tend to make our dollars last longer. So it's actually a pretty good investment if you think about it. And we aren't a part of the status quo. So we tend to invest in different markets, underserved markets. And if you talk to VCs, they make most of their money in underserved markets, investing in underserved markets. So there's plenty of opportunity, plenty of justification, but then when you look at the pyramid in the middle, right, pretty good representation in the U.S. labor force, right, 45% plus of the U.S. labor force are women. But then when you move up the pyramid, the numbers fall off precipitously, right, board seats, executive offers, top earners, and CEOs, very few of us. So this leaky pipeline is a real problem. Now, that gets me to Upward. And this is a picture of our website. You can get to it at upwardwomen.org. I'd suggest you go out and take a look if you have a few moments. But my goal with Upward was to build this global community because, as I mentioned earlier, we're not going to get there on our own. And you could even argue that we're not going to get there within a company or even within an industry because the numbers, as I showed you in the pyramid, just aren't substantial enough. But if you think about it cross-industry and you think about it across the globe, that's impact, right? I mean, that is potentially millions of senior professional women who can come together in community and be proactive about encouraging, motivating, helping, directing one another. Good old girls network, right? It's what guys do very well. In fact, we should credit them for doing that well. I think they probably spend half their time working and the other half of their time, talking about how great they are. And networking, right? And well, they should. Absolutely. Well, they should. And we need to learn some things and start to do that ourselves. We tend to be heads down, get the job done. We're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done with excellence, and that's fabulous. But if we don't parse out time to network, which today is the lifeblood of any professional life, if you're not spending time to network, to build your community, extend your reach, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. And that pyramid that we saw just a few moments ago won't change much. So Upward has grown from that 50-person Rolodex to almost 2,000 members. We've got 18 sponsors. We've got a 12-person board of directors. We're doing 15 events this year. Sheryl Sandberg is going to speak at our gala dinner event that we're going to have at the Fairmont Hotel down in San Jose. So tremendous growth, all word of mouth. So that says to me that clearly there's a need, that we're realizing that there's a need, and we're engaged to do something about it. So while all of this is going on, and another mention of Jenny, because she shouted out our CEO, Brian Kachanek. Not too many people want to pronounce his last name, too. It's really kind of a hard name. We call him BK, affectionately, at Intel. But while I was doing all of this, BK had some things in his mind that he wanted to do. This $300 million diversity and technology initiative was twofold. One, how do we improve ourselves as Intel? And how do we impact the industry? How do we start to affect, in a positive way, our industry? And so BK and I had a little conversation. And I talked to him about this idea of doing a diversity fund. I talked to him about this community that I've started to build and how we could leverage that to get great deals. And he says to me, I like that idea. I want to do it, and I want to go big, which was fabulous, right? I mean, give BK a hand for that, right? Seriously. I could not be happier with that response, and he has been the biggest champion of this effort. I mean, it's not just about the press conferences and the CES stage and all of that. He genuinely believes this, right? He has 2 daughters who are strong and capable, and he wants the world to be better for them. And he wants us, as a corporation, to benefit from the diversity of decisions and improve our performance as a result. So I started with slide number 2, where I said, I talked to my boss about it, and he said, no, thank you. To come full circle with the CEO of Intel Corporation, who taps me on the shoulder and says, yeah, I want to do it, and I want to go big, and I want you to lead it. So we're going to be announcing on June 9th this diversity fund, lots more details at that time, and fellow travelers and great companies that we've already invested in this category. And I'm really proud of that moment. So in my final remarks, I'll say a couple of things. In fact, I just wrote an article for Fortune.com talking about this notion of rejection. I mean, you're going to get it, and women share a disproportionate amount of rejection in our workplaces. And I think the natural reaction is to step back, recover, heal from our wounds. And it is a natural reaction. I understand the tendency. That was my thought. That was my first thought when I was told no. But what I want to encourage you with today is there were a lot of different paths to achieve your goal. And in my case, I had to go and build a 2,000-person network, which took 2.5 years. I hope your journey is simpler. But there is value in community, finding other people who are like-minded and saying, I don't have to take this mountain on myself. I think that we have the ability to create something really amazing. And so don't be discouraged. When you get rejected, you will get rejected many, many times in a corporate context. Find another path. I love what Carol Barth said to me. She said, find the people that are simpatico with you. You're going to meet those folks. You're going to meet the people that can be changed, and you're going to meet assholes. If you know Carol Barth, that's what she said directly. Don't bother with the latter. Spend your time on the former, and you can make a difference. Just try a different route. We tend to want to take the mountain head on, and that is often an impossible feat. And it's also extremely discouraging if you try it over and over and over again, and you get told that you can't achieve what you have a vision to. So find an alternate path. So that's point number 1. Using the leverage of a community as well, point number 2. And then finding men that are simpatico, that agree with your ideas, who are on board and supportive, and invite them into your circle. Encourage them to continue to evangelize the idea. Rehearse the business value case, because men are analytical and they want to know the business value case. When they know that, then you start pulling on the heartstrings. Everybody has a mother. Everybody has, well, not everybody, but many people have wives and daughters and cousins and aunts and nieces, etc. So start pulling on the emotional string, get them engaged, get them motivated to help and support you, and you will be amazed at what you can accomplish. So those are my three takeaways. That is my talk. Thank you very much.